I feel like Ragnarsson as well, like still played incredibly well, just kind of wasn't able to push through the damage necessary. And so you're kind of talking about like the pacing, playing reactively, kind of needing to match the pace of your opponent and then wait for those openings. So what do you, if anything, could Ragnarsson maybe have done differently in that set?
That's an interesting one. I think the one thing he could have done really is go in for the burn kill against Darkness. When he was playing the kind of like Bandle poke deck against the Darkness deck, he had a decision whether to try to kill the engines, which is actually usually the correct play against Darkness. The thing that most people don't understand about Darkness is that it's actually more of the kind of like aggressive deck, if anything, and decks that are mid-range usually don't aggro Darkness down. They usually just try to kill Viger and Senna over and over again if they have that option, and that's usually a safer play than aggroing it down. But I think in that situation, I don't know if it made enough sense because you're only losing to the Ishtali Sentinel otherwise, but it's a really close call.
Well, that is going to be a win on the board for Yamato. So let's go ahead and take a look at the standings. Now that we have 3 matches down, we're starting to see what the standings look like here. Chelo and Yamato obviously taking wins in Group C, and then we've got Kevin in Group D taking a win over there. But we still have one more match for Group D before we get a chance to see how all of the standings play out for both of these groups. So I am so excited. We've got three-game matches that we have gotten a chance to see so far. I think that just says we're gonna see some more incredible matches today. So thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Skarzig, you're sticking around. Let's go ahead and bring MajinBae into the mix to talk about this next match. We're going back over to Group D. We've got our next match queued up. I mean, MajinBae, are you excited? Are we gonna see another 3-game match potentially?
Very likely, because both of these lineups are very similar. Also, a bit of bummed out by the start of Europe today, but I still do believe. I just hope that I don't put myself in a position where they're showcasing that video of me saying Europe is the best region again and again. But really, really hyped up for this next match for sure. But looking at the lineups and really excited to see both of these players.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and get into the action? Skarzig, take it away.
When we get a closer look at both of the players that we're about to see here, MajinBae and Odyssey, MajinBae is not just coming from a favored region of NA, but he is a favored player all around. A seasonal winner here in the World Championships, has done a lot of research in metagame. I think that's really what he's known for. A player that if there's any good deck that's creeping into the metagame, he's immediately on top of it, learning it, trying to figure out where it fits in the meta landscape, and is just a good old-fashioned Lee Sin player as well. So is used to these tournament settings, these very high-stakes, grindy games.
I'm not really too familiar with Odyssey. To be completely honest, I'm not sure if you know more about this player. I do know that their lineups are very similar. Going back on what you said on MajinBae, definitely one of the players that people are looking out for the most, because he is definitely very known as a really strong meta player. He knows the best, like you said, he finds the best decks, and he's not afraid to go into mirror matches. And we're going to see if that really is the case, because these two players have two exact same decks, even though there's differences in their card choices and such. But really intrigued to see MajinBae finally in action, because I've never really gotten to cast a game from him since he's from NA, and I want to see what Odyssey is all about, really.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Odyssey has a lineup that's similar to MajinBae's means that he has a similar read on the metagame, and it's going to come down to potentially some mirror matches, which we've been skipping out on a lot here.
We haven't seen any mirror matches yet, but I have a feeling we might get a chance to see some mirror matches today. We'll see, but MajinBae is a clear favorite in NA. Let's hear a little bit more about him.
Hey guys, my name is MajinBae. I'm from California, and I've been playing Legends of Runeterra for almost a year now. Wow, I made top 16 in the world. Like, what an accomplishment, right? My favorite part of the game has got to be the pass system and spell mana. I think they make the game a lot more like fluid. It flows really well. Americas has been crushing in Runeterra. I do believe the Americas region is very, very skilled. I play a lot. One of the other top 16, What Am I? He's a teammate of mine. What Am I and I worked really hard on our lineup, and we're really excited about it. so I'm really rooting for him. But at the end of the day, I'm here to win it.
Well, I'm sure MajinBae is super excited to know that Mai has already made it into the final day of competition. Mogwai, I know you're excited to see MajinBae in action, so why don't you kick us off with start talking about those deck lists?
Let's take a look at the player profiles and see what these lineups are all about. And I also want to clarify real quick that, I'm not particularly a fan of mirror matches myself. It's not something that I'm looking forward to. But in card games, eventually these things happen, right? And this is definitely the matchup where we can see a lot of what's really interesting about mirror matches in this case, though, is that we'll see different approaches as these decks. We see the lineup MajinBae is bringing Draven Scion, Zoe Nami, and Poppy Lulu. At this point, I think it's safe to assume that this is the winner lineup, or at least the most powerful one. Zoe Nami has been extremely dominant throughout the tournament, and just even decks and lineups, entire lineups that have been trying to target this archetype have actually just fallen flat on their face, and it's just really difficult to overcome Nami's value when piloted correctly. We can definitely expect MajinBae to do so. And Draven Scion has perhaps taken the majority of the bans throughout this tournament, right, Skarzik? Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, a lot of lists just don't want to deal with that big overwhelm at the end. There's always that value of lost soul, and a lot of players are prepared to deal with the Caitlyn variants that are a bit more, incremental with their aggression, but something that has an aggressive early start into a late game finisher, players just don't want to answer that. Scion was super strong at the beginning of the Bandle City metagame and started to fall off because Minimorph in the Bandle Tree became much more popular, and now that we're shifting from Bandle Tree, it puts Scion back on the menu. Odyssey is responding to this lineup with running the Ping City over the Nami Zoe here in his preferred lineup. So we could see, the Lulu Poppy mirror match. MajinBae has said in the past that he does not mind playing mirror matches. He has that confidence that he knows how to pilot it, he knows how to navigate it and outplay. But Odyssey, with a little bit more of an aggressive tilt, could maybe high roll into an extra win that MajinBae might not be accounting for.
This is definitely a pattern that we've seen from the Asian region in this World Championship. None of them are playing Zoe Nami, and they're opting to go for other options instead. I ultimately think this may end up being a mistake, because while Pink City has been pretty solid, it had a bit of a rough start, but overall I think we can agree that it's been a well-performing deck. I don't think it's at the level of something like Zoe Nami, and it's gonna matter a lot because there are two very juicy. Honestly, I would ban any of these three decks because we haven't spoken enough about Poppy Lulu, which is just absolutely terrifying, giving me PTSD after that Shihu loss, by the way, with the Lulu top deck as well. That deck is just on fire.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. It gets on the board early, and it just wants to snowball the game in its favor. Unfortunately, this Ping City deck really loses out on its preferred prey. It was designed to counter the Bandle Tree, and once this deck rose to prominence, it kicked Bandle Tree sort of out of the tournament metagame, right? Yamato being the only player to bring it. And now it's just doing generally good, generally aggressive things against everything else without that one ace in the hole matchup you were hoping for.
And we do see the bans right there, just what we were talking about. Nami taking the ban hammer for Majin, but because Odyssey is not playing Nami himself, he's gotten Scion Draven banned, which means MajinBae does have Scion Draven at his disposal, and also this deck right here with Lulu Poppy in a very nice looking opening hand there with that Ranger's Resolve, which is absolutely top tier in this matchup, by the way.
Yeah, you need the pings to come through, try to keep the board under control. Both of these lists can go wide, but MajinBae's list, of course, has much more generation when it comes to getting extra bodies in play. We've got Vandal Commando all ready to go and starting to get these Owl Cats, right? Units with Spell Shield that are going to be even harder for Odyssey to remove.
The Stone Stackers does allow Odyssey to advance game plans level up by one stage as MajinBae responds with an open attack of his own to generate that Owlcat right there. We do see the Bandle City Mayor that can go down and set up the Owlcat for free while still having that 1 mana backup for Ranger's Resolve. Like I said, Ranger's Resolve is such a great card. We know there's several differences in these players' lineups, right? Both are playing Lulu Poppy, but MajinBae is running that triple Ranger's Resolve tech, which is just outstanding. And
Yeah,
we're going
you
to see it
catch
right
up
here.
you catch up this stack, you catch up the plunder, and such a huge blowout. You get to play the Bandle City Mare with confidence. A lot of these decks normally would balk at a barrel and the threat of Make It Rain, but MajinBae is just keeping the pressure on. We could even see second Bandle Commando here get 2 0-mana Owl Cats.
This is looking a little bit awkward for Odyssey. This double double up. I never thought I would say that. Double up is actually a liability right now. The Mirai Warden can enable the 3-mana card draw though, as it does create a unit. So he will be able to eventually draw for a little bit cheaper. But right now, MajinBae's development is looking terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. He's got that Aloof Travelers as well, which he can try to use to discard a Gangplank potentially, as he does not have any knowledge of what is in his hand. So we see there's several options here, but he opts to go with the Bright Steel Protector. Really wants to make sure that Mayor is safe, and this allows him to potentially play another 2-drop here and not have to save up the mana for Ranger's Resolve this turn.
With only 1 mana available, there's not going to be any more AoE coming through. Odyssey is in a jam, simply because you've got all of your pieces almost in play. You've got double up in hand, which is going to get more and more awkward as time goes on, right? The higher chance that MajinBae is going to start buffing this board with Lulu and Poppy, so you're losing your ability to get the juicy targets you need here in the early mid game. And we've seen it repeatedly, even yesterday from Artify, where holding on to the double ups too long just means you're leaving so much damage on the table. This isn't the sort of card like Decimate where once you get late into the game, you can just throw it down and count on that damage. There's so much reactability from the opponent to disrupt double up hitting the Nexus.
Exactly, and that is something that really makes the card kind of fall flat in a lot of matchups, though we have seen it win a lot of games as well. And Ranger's Resolve here, even though there's no spell pings happening, could lead to some amazing trades, but the way MajinBae is ordering his blocks, we're definitely not going to see Ranger's Resolve here. He's actually just going to be trading effectively, and that's fine, honestly, because he has the ability to repopulate the board here. Really like this. Yeah, really like this series of blocks. Just completely board wipes. Board wipes, but has a bunch of ways of just redeveloping the board, getting card advantage, while Odyssey has to start off by drawing. Spending 3 mana to draw, and then we can talk about getting more units on the board. This swing is amazing. Amazing for MajinBae. Keeping the Mayor on board, just absolutely crucial.
Yeah, Odyssey is in a position where you have to attack, even when the trades don't look good for you, because you need that Crackshot Corsair. You need the damage to go through from the Stone Stackers, and this allows MajinBae to clear and then begin threatening the develop of a potential Poppy or Lulu.
Do you double up here on the Mayor? Like, you may consider that option.
Yeah.
It's your entire turn, but otherwise he's just gonna flood like crazy.
And that's the situation that Odyssey has put themselves in. With the first double up getting sniped here by Aloof Traveler, there is some utility now with the Lecturing Yordle, but with double up now completely out of the equation, that's so much damage that Odyssey won't have access to.
Alright, this makes this really interesting. This Lecturing Yordle, because do you really want to go for a Ranger's Resolve onto this? That does not feel nearly as good. There's so much value that card can generate. Maybe the better option is to just make use of his passive going on right now and just drop that Telescope and try to spread out a little bit. Or you could just drop the 2-drop though. Yeah, it is your attack token. You need to start generating some value. It's okay if you don't get that 1-mana Telescope. It's not the end of the world. We'll see what happens here. Because I don't know if it's worth it. Maybe he considers it, but I don't think it is. I think he just let it die. Yep.
Yeah, so lets the Mare go down. You're at the point in the game where you've got enough mana to pretty much play with whatever you have in hand, so the discount becomes a little bit less worth. And now that, because of that big swing, MajinBae has a really strong read that Odyssey clearly does not have a lot of units left to defend with. And now with triple Loping Telescope, there's even more generation here for more bodies and just keep going wide. In this matchup, MajinBae doesn't necessarily need to get the Poppy and the Lulu set up. Still just needs to grind down and survive.
Not looking too terrible for Odyssey though. He's had some nice draws. Mirai Warden into the Inventive Chemist. That's good enough to actually build a very decent board. and then he's got that card draw. Like, he can get back into this game for sure.
Gangplank, I think, has got to be the key card here.
Of course,
to start punching through with some overwhelm. Having that ability from Gangplank to get the AoE damage on the attack. Ooh, help picks.
Also, very important to know that bomb right there is going to tick off at the beginning of the next round, which will have MajinBae having the attack tokens. Now, that's very good for Gangplank's level up right there. Like, this is looking like it's winnable for both players at this point. It really depends on what they draw into and how they sequence and set up the attacks. We see Rally, and again, that Ranger's Resolve representing a lot of value, but there are a lot of times with that double up, you have a lot of 1 health units, so it's hard to actually prevent the value, and he's already down to 13. So a double up hit, a good well-timed double up, leveled up Gangplank, could be very scary for MajinBae here.
I think that presence of double up and Gangplank as essentially the lose conditions for MajinBae might be the reason that this Ranger's Resolve has been held on as well.
Yep.
And this is going to be such a huge pocket card. And what this does is it forces Odyssey to have, a barrel plus for the double up here so that it can hit through the Ranger's Resolve potentially. If Loping Telescope, you want to get your 1 HP units off of the board as quickly as possible to also play around that possibility.
One of the tricky things about double up here is that the longer you wait, the more likely, because you can say, well, I'm gonna wait for the right time. Yeah, but this deck not only plays Ranger's Resolve, I believe he's also definitely is playing a full set of Sharp Sight, which can completely counter the card. So the longer the match goes, the more of a chance you're giving MajinBae here to draw into that Sharp Sight and counter it. So the timing of this double up is gonna be absolutely crucial, I believe.
Yeah, cashing in the double up early and answering a unit while also damaging the enemy nexus while you have a wide-ish board is the sort of tempo swing that will just allow the Sect to coast to victory. Now that that time has passed, Odyssey might be thinking, I'm going to hold on to this double up as a hedge of protecting Gangplank from aloof travelers.
Yeah, that's actually like a legit. I mean, you're still, you're still
another
flipping a
wide
coin.
swing.
You're still risking it. But, but that's the legitimate option. I like this just going face. At this point, you've dealt a good amount of. From this point onwards, I'm telling you, a Gangplank top deck can be just brutal. There's actually there's no combat strikes here. Ooh.
A lot of very good options. The Fangs generate you another card. You can get a Crescent Strike off of this bad boy.
I never thought we would be seeing the Fangs at all in Worlds, like after that nerf. We saw it with Shihu's lineup, and now MajinBae going for it. To be honest, like I said, the Shark Trainer feels solid, but it's actually very expensive. And in this deck, you need to leave some mana open to threaten with Rally and combat tricks, etc., etc. And also, it's hard to build up your board when you're spending 7 mana on one sole unit. But it could have been good as a potential blocker into Gangplank, for example. Let's see what he has to go for here.
Yeah, generating even more value here.
Charger is a solid option, but then again, it's just dies to a lot of stuff. Yeah.
We haven't seen as many pings as this deck is actually capable of running. Lecturing Yordle is still in play, potentially getting that Poison Dart as well. We've talked a lot about Majin's stellar defense up until this point, but with those champions MIA, he's having difficulty shifting into a more aggressive style to close out because of hidden pathways in hand, because there's so much power concentrated around the Gangplank to just come down and not have to worry about Majin threatening with a board like this that really isn't super threatening. You are still feeling the heat, I think, if you're in MajinBae's position.
Yeah, but these draws aren't great for Odyssey. Like, back-to-back Lecturing Yordle is a little bit too much. He needs to find that Gangplank at this point. And we're going to see a Moon Glow here. Very good Moon Glow. Very important for this to go onto a 2-health unit, because combined with Ranger's Resolve, you can play around a double up. And pretty much essentially everything, because from that point onwards, 2 mana less, it represents just pings. Make it rain, pokey stick, etc., etc. So Ranger's Resolve would 100% counter any sort of removal attempt from Odyssey. So really smart targeting there by MajinBae.
Moonglow, very uncommon card, and finding the perfect target as well that came off of Loping Telescope. And now with the extra HP on the Fangs, you're getting multiple reps of the lifesteal.
Yeah.
And this is putting Odyssey in a position where that window of opportunity to close out the game is now starting to slip away. The longer the game goes on, the higher the chance that MajinBae really will, just slam down a Poppy. Like, if Poppy hits the board next round, there's nothing Odyssey can do about it. And once the attack buff, or even a Lulu buffing the attack on the Fangs, there's going to be so much HP regained by MajinBae.
Speaking of the Fangs, his Fangs is getting so much attention, but it still only has 2 power. It's kind of sad because it's such a massive nerf to go from 3 to 2 when you have lifesteal. But I was just thinking right now, I may be underestimating the power of triple lecturing Yordle. That sounds like a very annoying group to be a part of, but it actually is very, very threatening. To face a trio of these, because they're just going to be generating so many pings. Like, you can actually potentially start wiping out this board with triple extra Yordle. Just every time he attacks, he gets 3 1-minute pings, and it's planting all those mushrooms as well. Like, that is legitimately threatening here.
And when your hand is this low, being able to generate that many resources that further your own win condition is so clutch.
Yep. We saw there he was thinking of popping the spell shield from the Fangs, but ultimately opted to just knock out the telescope instead. And now we're gonna see, we're gonna see another lecturing Yordle here, I would assume, because you really got to push for that value. Like, you get a poison dart, and then when you attack, you get 3 more, and that is like legit. The spell shield from Alcat really coming into play as we see the second Ranger's Resolve. That is the ultimate counter to this sort of scenario. That is huge.
So now whenever you want to go for another big defense, this has happened over and over again over the course of this game, where MajinBae has this wide board, Odyssey also has a wide board, and Odyssey is the one who is forced to attack. That's where all of the damage comes from in Odyssey's list, because that's how you get the poison darts off the lecturing Yordles, that's how you're getting your value from your impact units, that's how you're forcing MajinBae to trade so that a Poppy or a Rally doesn't come through on such a wide board to punish you. And MajinBae just passes and says, yes, I know you have to come to me once again. And so now you're just trading as you please, getting value all over the place.
Yeah, you can set up these blocks right here. And it's just funny how, like, this really, really scary situation is just completely shut down by a 1-mana spell. Like, that's just brutal.
And Odyssey now might even anticipate this. Now that the game has gone on so long, we've already seen 1 Ranger's Resolve. There's now 2 in hand, that all these poison darts might go face. It's 4 damage to the face. We've got potential even for double up here pretty soon. And with the right mushroom draws, mushrooms have also been incredibly clutch here, but no, forces out the Ranger's Resolve. MajinBae is very happy to cash in this one here because there is another one to back it up.
I mean, this is kind of crazy, because now with this Euro Smith, this Serpent can trade into the Lecture Euro and knock it out without dying. Like, how amazing is that? Like, he's got a really solid attack here. He's running out of gas, it seems, yes, but this is a pretty strong hit. He does need some champions, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He's lacking that. He's running out of steam here. He's able to generate these Alcats here. But important to note that this Poison Dart will not take out the barrier, will take out the Spell Shield. So this Fangs will still get a pretty much free attack at this point.
And you can see MajinBae recognizing, without the champions, without my ability to actually close out the game, I need to go for the rally here, just for the sake of clearing some of Odyssey's lecturing Yordles, getting the Owlcats for more defense. Both players just really missing out on their champions, those power cards that you need to close out the game. And if this comes down to just a resource generation grind fiesta, theoretically, Odyssey is favored here because of the lecturing Yordles and the over-the-top burn.
Just realized none of these players have drawn a single champion, right?
Like, yeah,
I jinxed it.
Okay, so now Mogwai, is Odyssey desperate enough to go for blue card here?
I think I don't think red card does enough, especially after this serpent goes down. I think you want to cycle and you want to play the way you beat this deck is through value. You're not really that low to begin with, and I mean that repose top deck is neat in case we try to see something like a double up go down here, even because you would have to rely on Make It Rain RNG, right? But I would definitely be going for the blue card. I think drawing one card over Majin at this point, and trying to find the high value, because not only that, you got more card draw in the deck, and you also have that game plank, man. As soon as you hit that game plank, you are good to go.
Yeah, so we could see there's a ton of options here. We've got double up going onto the surface.
Oh, it's happening.
So MajinBae could take the damage here. This will be offset a little bit by the Fang swinging in. We could see riposte on the Fangs to get even more lifesteal.
Oh, this is hard to like. If you're MajinBae though, this is rough because if you're like, okay, if he goes for this, he must have a Pokey Stick. He must have a Pokey Stick. Yeah, he just lets it happen. Oh man, that is rough.
So both players now still very even on HP, but it looks like Odyssey is going to come out ahead here in the value game. Blue card could very easily draw Gangplank, which gets set up next round.
Going for the blue card. No, going for the red card.
Red card.
I guess he really no. Okay, so this actually makes sense. I guess he really wants to enable this Make It Rain. And we see you know the bouncing of Twisted Fate, the one card in the game that just recalls itself upon upon entry, but then it comes back immediately.
By popping the spell shield, tries to make it rain, gets punished by third Ranger's Resolve. MajinBae is keeping this board alive, and the cavalry is here. You've got the units available, and now you've got Poppy coming down to reinforce this. We've got Riposte as well to go onto the Fangs, blocking Electra and Yordle, and offsetting a lot of the damage that's about to come through. Tenor of Terror, also a great way to establish a wide board here and get even more impact damage.
I think you just go phase at this point. I think you just go phase with everything, and then you just throw those darts at the face as well. Because at this point, there's been a lot of mushrooms being planted. But at the same time, that Fangs is actually putting the work. Nerfed Fangs may turn out to be the MVP of this match. Like it's actually kept him alive. Without it, he will not be here.
Yeah,
that's a lot of dramatic
actual
density.
Amount of healing it has generated over the course of the game is deciding it right now. And again, the riposte to get even more lifesteal here. MajinBae is really afraid. Can see, right? Odyssey's entire hand is just poison darts.
This riposte could actually seal the deal for MajinBae here.
19 puff caps in hand. We've got 6 more potentially coming. We've got 2 damage going on to the Nexus. Look all the way down with the impact.
No! Oh no, he misplayed! Oh, he choked! He should have gone for the... Oh no! Oh no! No, not like this! He had the riposte! He had the riposte!
Yeah!
I was like, why? I was confused. I was like, why did he do it? Oh, not like this! Not
the healing.
this!
MajinBae looks into the camera, heartbroken. Odyssey able to make it come through. We knew that the presence of the Fangs brought the game to that position regardless, and not being able to take full advantage of that card with Riposte, a card that we don't even normally see in Poppy Lulu. Such a heartbreak here in the World Championships.
Oh, okay, so this is where we're going to see what he's truly made of, because this can tilt anybody into oblivion, especially in such a high-stakes match like this. But, you know, if he's a champion, he can overcome this. You got to reset. You got to be like, whatever happened, happened. There's no going back. You know, just, you're still not out of it. Don't let it get to you. It's really hard. Like, mentally, like, this kind of mistake really gets to you. If you're not, like, I tilt easily, for example. Something like this would really affect my thought process. So you gotta recollect yourself and come back. But yeah, that was brutal. Because I was just mentioning, like, the repose like really just saves him right there. And then when I didn't see him play it, I was like, wait, did I miscount or something? I was really confused. Oh my lord, because he played so well up to that point too. All right, here we go, round 2.
And now switching off trying to shake it off, reset your mental like you were just talking about, Mogwai. Gonna go over to the Draven Scion. Odyssey now trying to pick up win number 2 with his Lulu Poppy. No champions in the hand just yet, but a strong early curve nonetheless. Draven's biggest fan lines up here on turn 1, but there's already a Draven in hand. Really unfortunate.
Yeah, by the way, big shout outs to Beach Party Draven, my favorite Draven personally. Finally somebody representing, though it is Odyssey with the beach board. That's just a little bit confusing. I guess MajinBae was really anticipating everything. But we see Fleetfed try to go down, Eurosmith right after that, and Majin is like, no. That thing is getting out of here. And I really like that play.
Yeah, definitely an honorary champion in this deck. Its ability to combine with your 1 and 2 drops and just snowball, being able to take away your opponent's chump blockers and maintain your board is just so important. We saw MajinBae take advantage of that last round, not necessarily through Yordle Smith, but with Ranger's Resolve, right? And so now Draven gets to come down, trying to fight for position here as we move into the mid game.
I would definitely argue that Yordle Smith is the strongest and most impactful follower in this deck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It had the synergy with Lulu is just absolutely off the charts, and it makes your attacks like it enhances your rally effects by so much. This is why we see these decks run like 5 to 6 copies of rally, because it's so good. So I definitely like, if you're facing this deck and you have removal, do like MajinBae does, prioritize it onto the Yordle Smith.
Yeah, you can always try to chump block the Lulu or the Poppy if you've got a big enough unit or a removal spell, but Yordle Smith is the one that snowballs the board. Even if you remove it after they attack, the quick attack still persists. And going in now to round 5, Lulu is the target here. There's potential to buff up this Fleet Feather Tracker. There's potential to buff this Vandal Commando if Odyssey is opting for just raw aggression. There is Whirling Death, however, available for MajinBae.
This is a very solid looking defensive turn for MajinBae. Even though Odyssey has spread out really well, he's got access to both mana for Get Excited and Whirling Death. He could potentially even try to level up Draven, though he has to find a good trade for that to happen. But I would argue just go for the Get Excited onto Lulu effective immediately. Okay, respecting the Ranger's Resolve. Respecting the Ranger's Resolve and just guaranteeing. Okay, I like this a lot actually, because the Lulu onto any other unit, even onto an elusive, is nowhere near as impactful as it is onto the Challenger threatening the Draven right here. So I really like that call. Really like that call by Majin.
Yeah, getting the Challenger away lets you protect your Draven and keeps the board from snowballing, right? Even going to keep the Draven safe here once again, despite the Whirling Death. With 3 mana open, you're worried about the Ranger's Resolve and the Sharp Sight, etc. The combat tricks is really what I should be saying. And now MajinBae going to take a pretty heavy hit here. This is a really unfortunate outcome simply because if this deck is able to put in a lot of early work against you, you are kind of stifled from your development because of the threat of rally.
Exactly. Both of these Owl Mamas strike, generating these Owl Cats. And now we are in a situation in which Majin is all of a sudden running out of gas.
We've got the Scorched Earth as a great target to be cycled away, but we've never really seen this before, I don't think, from Draven Scion, where they usually do have a lot of cards in hand because they have so many free discard targets. It's just that when you draw the Draven's biggest fans early in the game like this, they're one of the rare cards in the deck that's not generating another card on top, and Odyssey now enjoying a very wide board position combined with elusives and impact.
Scarsy, this Yordles in Arms is crazy. This Yordles in Arms is just absolutely backbreaking. Like how do you deal with this? I'm telling you, this card is insane. This card is insane. Oh, we could be seeing a 2-0 after a brutal misplay by MajinBae in what was looking like a game-winning situation for him if he survived that turn. So this is gonna be tough. This is looking amazing for Odyssey. Like, this is just so much stats. You have to remove something. You have to try to get excited the one of the impact Yordles here, and then you can play Poppy.
Plus
and then you can
4,
play Poppy.
Plus 4.
You can just why not? Well, I mean, why not drop Poppy because she won't buff anything. So never mind.
She'll buff herself, but still, that is just an extra
Oh,
attacker
the
here.
power. Oh my lord. Also card advantage. Wow. I mean, just play Poppy. Just why not? It's a 5/4. It's like it's not buffing anything but herself, but hey, it's 5/4. Like you actually. Oh my god, you have to Whirling Death with the Twin Blade Revenant onto Poppy here just to live. That feels awful. That actually feels awful.
Yeah,
you don't clear
amount
anything.
of stats. Yeah, this amount of stats simply means that everything essentially has barrier. You're just attacking in, eating your opponent's board, and now MajinBae is worried about rally, but doesn't have the means to even develop a board that's this wide. The Owl Cats, I've never even seen them this big before. Down to 3 HP already.
I'm telling ya, Yordles in Arms is a legit card. If you're playing Lulu Poppy, play Yordles in Arms. Every time I see this card, I've never seen it underperform. It is amazing value. It's just at its worst, it board wipes, especially like with your spell shield 1-drops. It's absurd. It's so
the
powerful.
+2/+2 means that a lot of these 1 and 2 HP units are hitting that 4 HP and the 4 attack breakpoints to overcome a lot of removal spells, to hit a lot of the stat lines and favorable trades you want. Here comes the open attack, and that is going to be the 2-0 from Odyssey.
2-0. Dominant victory from Odyssey after that back-breaking game 1 and just taking out one of the favorites in the tournament. But this is only game 1, so MajinBae is not out of it by any means. But he's got a hill to climb, that's for sure. Odyssey with the win, 2-0. Fantastic start for the Asian player.
Yeah, I mean, Odyssey did a
disappeared.
really great job there because we talked before we went into the match. The players had very similar lineups. Odyssey had a very strong read on the metagame. With the absence of Nami Zoe, we were a little bit worried the lineup would lack the power it needed to close out. But after everything was said and done, Odyssey was able to go through. And even though MajinBae isn't out of the running yet, having such a devastating misplay cost you your first set means that MajinBae is going to take a critical hit of mental damage going into the rest of today's group stages.
You gotta brush it off. There's no other way. Like, it doesn't matter. Just do not look at Twitch chat, please. Spare yourself the pain. Just brush it off. You got this. I believe in you. Just don't look at Twitch chat.
I mean, there's still a ton of movement that can happen, right? Especially because that's only one game. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overall standings to see where these players are after 4 total matches. We've got 1 round of the round robin out of the way. And while we may have just seen a devastating loss, there is definitely room to come back for all of these players that are sitting at an 0-1 record right now. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen in these next matches of the day, because that's definitely going to shake things up a little bit, especially knowing that we are going to be going back to Group C to kick off some other action in that group. So can't wait to see what's going to happen. Skarsnik, thank you so much for covering those last 2 matches.